Hi again, Dan Alasso here, making history. It is day 22 of my retrenchment journey, so I have 259 days to go. In addition to retrenching tenured and tenure-track faculty like me, BSU has also opted not to renew the contracts, of course, of fixed-term and adjunct faculty. They had to do this in the rosters where they wanted to retrench, or contractually they wouldn't have been allowed to eliminate positions like mine. You can't eliminate the positions of senior, higher paid people and leave the adjuncts in place. It's sketchy even to go back too quickly and hire adjuncts into those slots. So these are things that we'll see how they play out in the future. But this elimination of adjunct and fixed term people, along with folks like me, is also going to have an effect, of course, because I don't think I worked any less hard when I was a contingent instructor than I do now. I was an emergency fixed term instructor or assistant professor for a couple of years, actually, before they decided to hire me on full time. Also, as I've mentioned previously, the retrenchments in June had followed a cut in March when they let go 23 people, mostly in staff positions, in a combination of early retirement incentives and layoffs. And this also had a big effect on campus. Unlike Twitter, BSU can't really lose large numbers of workers and continue to function as if nothing had happened. An example of this, the connection for the projector that I was talking about that wasn't working in my class also wasn't working when I got to class on Wednesday morning. Luckily, the connection to the document camera was. So I put my notebook under the doc cam and I ran my PowerPoint through it. My friend in IT services rushed right over to help and figured out while I was doing the DocCam lecture, and then came back later and told me after class, and we verified her theory that it wasn't really the entire control box that was broken, only the port on the back that connected to the HDMI cable that went to my notebook when it was plugged in. So the HDMI connector to the DocCam was still working. So if the thing doesn't get fixed, then Friday when I go in, I'll be able at least to unplug the cable from the document camera and plug that into my computer. Now, the unreadiness of a large lecture hall in the science building for normal operations at the beginning of the semester is, it turns out, directly related to the financial crisis at BSU, because IT services is now shorthanded. One of their senior support people took early retirement, took the incentive when it was offered last spring, and she was not replaced. Now that I think of it, I think the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, left as well. The guy who used to manage servers is now doing classroom tech support. And my friend who rushed over to help me is a senior person in the department. So with everyone wearing all these extra hats, we're probably lucky that anything works. In another unforced error, a couple of my students in my Women in World History class had to borrow the book from me in order to do this week's work. I had a couple of extra copies, luckily. The bookstore ran out, and people either ordered the book there and have to wait for it to arrive, or went online and order it and also have to wait. In either case, it'll probably be a week or more before they receive their copies. And I have to admit, this is a problem I haven't encountered recently because I rarely require books that students need to purchase. So I usually respond to the bookstore every semester saying, no, I won't need your help. But even though the 2 volumes that I've assigned in this class aren't that expensive, I would say there is something broken in a system where students don't get their books until the end of week 2 or beyond that, with more than 10% gone in the semester. I'm I'm going to try to be flexible about that, but there are courses in which starting that far behind would have an effect on people's grades and their ability to really understand the material. Now, part of the issue in my class may relate to an uptick in students who enrolled in the last couple of days before classes began. A colleague of mine had his course canceled right at the end because enrollment wasn't high enough, because he didn't reach 10 people. And I think I may have picked up a couple of those students who needed a history course. But even so, with 23 students in this class, I'm still only a little over 50% of my cap. You would think that the bookstore might be able to handle this. And I'm not exactly sure what all of the factors that go into them not being able to handle this is. So I will be visiting today or tomorrow to have a chat with the bookstore manager and get her perspective. We have a pretty good relationship, actually, despite the fact that I'm the open textbook advocate on campus. So these are the types of problems that have been fairly common at BSU in the past, I think, but now may become more frequent. And in the past, faculty and students have sort of brushed them off and powered through them. So I'm wondering, will a change in morale make this more difficult in the future? I'll admit, I was a bit more annoyed when the projector failed on the second day, on Wednesday, after I had been promised it would be fixed. I held it together, for the most part. But there are a lot of people under unusually high levels of stress on campus right now. This could be a problem if the machine starts to break down. And I will continue to observe and document as we move forward the next 259 days. But that's all for now. So I hope you found that a little interesting. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you again.